closing out our Horrors of Society series, we are talking about the film Mickey 17.
And like, honestly, how could we talk about capitalism and society and the horrors of it without covering something by Bong Joon-Ho? So it feels appropriate. He's always being like, capitalism bad. It's like his whole vibe. So it's good that we fit him in here for this series. And the movie was great.
So Mickey 17 is from this year, 2025, and it's about during a human expedition to colonize space, Mickey 17, a so-called expendable employee, is sent to explore an ice planet, and it's directed by Bong Joon-Ho. And so Mickey 17 is an entertaining science fiction film that distills the fearful future of unchecked capitalism into a heartfelt comedic romp. Based on the book Mickey 7, written by Edward Ashton, the film follows Mickey, a lower-class, regular sweetheart, who, after some poor choices and even poorer placed trust, finds himself aboard a spaceship on its way to a new ice planet. And while the journey itself is both bleak and tempered hope, Mickey's specific experience is unique and heartbreaking. In a desperate effort to secure his seat on that ship to escape violent debt collectors, Mickey had signed up as an expendable, which is a human who is cloned and then used as a guinea pig for any scientific curiosity that the ship needs to explore. It honestly has some fun like science in there, and like the multiples and some of that. I enjoy it, and I really did enjoy Mickey's like delivery of information. Like I don't know why that happened, but it was kind of cool. You know, like I was just living for this guy.
Yeah, he's very fun.
You know,
yeah.
Sometimes you just get a bad lot in life.
Yeah.
I love him. Yeah. So the ship is helmed, led by a fanatic politician, Kenneth Marshall, and his wife, Ilfa. And Marshall is followed by religious extremists who put him on a pedestal, worshiping him like a new age god. And the comparison to Trump and the radical maggots is hard to ignore, though actor Mark Ruffalo, who plays him, insists that was not his intention. And it's like, come on. We got eyes and ears. He even did kind of like the stupid dance thing, and like the fact that Ilfa is there as like, you know, his like Lady Macbeth is a little different than like, because we don't really have a first lady in any real semblance of the word. But like, I mean, just the religion, the red hats. It's like, come on, okay. If you didn't know, Mr. Ruffalo, that's what you were doing. You did a good job anyway.
I mean, maybe he just said that for legal reasons. You know, he's not trying to get sued for defamation.
That's so true, especially right now, right?
Yeah. No,
when he made it back in 2022, he was like, well, the guy got, you know, so many felonies, there's no way he's going to run again.
Yeah.
He was like, he's going to go to jail.
Little did we know. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So.
But he's like, for legal reasons, it's not him. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I just thought, what is the grossest, weirdest, awful politician man? And then that's what I came up with. I can't help that that's what it looks like.
It's a shame. It's a shame that there's a mirror.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. That you guys are finding a similarity there. Unfortunate. But Marshall rules the ship with a loose iron fist. Fat little fist, hosting special dinners with selective members in attempts to inspire the right people to assist with repopulating the new planet. A lot of ick, a lot of
yeah.
I was like, we need your beautiful white babies and your pure. There's a lot of like your pure, perfect new humans. That's weird. Teeth. He's also eager to expend Mickey wherever necessary, as he had suggested the use of an expendable in space to begin with, and fights to retain power in his greasy, clumsy fat fists. You can tell he sucks. No one likes him. Yeah. But he's the one like, oh, it's so unethical. We can't do expendables here on Earth, but we could do it in space. Because that's different. That's space no man's land. There's no laws up there. I could do whatever I want. Yeah. And they're like, I guess. No one's going to sign up for that.
Was the unethical thing, actually.
Yeah, who knew? And because Mickey is an expendable, we first meet him during the presumed death of his 17th self. And through flashbacks, we learn of the fate of his previous 16 Mickeys, falling victim to a range of torturous ends for the science team's data. One Mickey is left outside the spaceship, slowly dying of radiation poisoning, and instructed to notify the staff of every grueling piece of his death, right? How long before he begins bleeding from every orifice, before he's blind, and then obviously ultimately until he dies. They're like, take off your gloves so we can see your hands dead. And then it gets cut off. And he's just like, oh, well.
Because I pressed a button once, I guess. So.
Came out here, I just trusted y'all. The sweet and gentle Mickey's only solace is in the arms of his love, the powerful and intelligent Nasha. And they steal away for forbidden acts of intimacy, because it exhausts too much energy, and share an intense... yeah, too many calories. And share an intense and endearing love. Nasha cares greatly for Mickey, keeping him from bullies and interested parties, ladies on the ship, as well as suiting up to hold him during the more gruesome chemical death trials. That was one of the most heartbreaking things. I was like, have I ever loved anyone? Like, she was so pure and perfect and beautiful, and it was just like, it meant a lot to me watching her be so strong, and then also just such a genuinely good, intelligent person. Like, it was, I wasn't expecting her to be that, and that she was so multifaceted and genuine was such a nice surprise. Watching through, I was like, oh my god, thank god there's someone so good for him. And like, it could have been so easy that she could have been another cruel thing in his world. And so Bong Joon-Ho kind of gave us that, like, gave us all a little bit of Nasha by bringing her into the world. When they finally arrive on the new planet, Mickey is subjected to a wide range of trials and deaths to find a vaccine for the diseases found on the planet. And once acquired, Mickey and a small team explore the new world. They discover the only other life forms on the planet, which are these fuzzy, isopod-like beings that inadvertently cause the death of one of the members, who was a non-expendable. And as punishment for not dying instead of the non-expendable, Mickey is tasked with wandering the new world, where he eventually finds himself fallen into an ice cavern where he's presumed dead. This is what we saw in the beginning. And going to be eaten by the creatures known as creepers. Only they didn't eat him at all. And instead they save him because they're really sweet and nice. And they're like, yeah, Mickey. They're like, Mickey, you know? And this, because they thought he was dead and his friend reports so. This leads to a new Mickey being printed while the previous Mickey, 17, is still alive, which then leads to a curse case of multiples, which is illegal. So they would both have to die because we can't have two of you.
Yeah.
It's illegal. It's bad, even though we're in space. Whatever.
Yeah, the last one was a serial killer. That doesn't mean all of them will be, but that one was, so.
But I mean, having too many at once is a struggle. Although I was right there with Nasha when she was like, okay, yeah, I have two of you.
Yeah, shadow clone you
two
too,
Mickeys.
yeah.
I'm seeing that all the time. Like, yes, I'd like to clone you. Okay?
Yeah.
This sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Double the pleasure, right? Double the trouble. But it is a problem. They're not supposed to be there. Mickey 18 is quite different from our sweet Mickey 17, and he has a mean streak and condemns 17 for his meekness and history of passivity. And because they can't both exist, they do try to kill each other a little bit. Though Mickey's like, we could just 17 is like, we could switch off, you know,
yeah,
like take turns. And then as soon as like, okay, fine, we're gonna share Nasha, he's like, okay, wait.
Actually, I hate you. Go away.
Yeah. She's mine.
Yeah.
Nasha had told 17 that his iterations tended to be a bit different, leaning into different emotions more heavily than others. Like this one, like, you know, number 6 was whiny. And, you know, like 13 did this. And so there was a history of like each one being slightly different. And it's not exactly explained. And some people are like, I don't get why he was so different. It's him every time. But like, first of all, you're gonna change. Your life is gonna change if you get reprinted. But I also think there might be a connection to like each death, like maybe a reaction to his emotions on the way out, like as he was dying. Because like that last one, like with T-Mail being like, what's it like to die?
Yeah.
You know, and just being kind of like over it, especially like having T-Mail be the last person that he saw, like presumably, and that kind of thing, like being in that situation. Being stuck out there because a non-expendable died, like all of that could absolutely lead to him doing that. And maybe like the whiny one came after like an incredibly painful experience, and like so he was just feeling really bad.
Trauma.
Yeah. So I think like absolutely, that could be what we're getting. 17 and 18 battle to exist, and as they also fight to protect the creepers from the greasy, pathetic hands of Marshall and his sauce-obsessed wife.
Yep,
she's a little freak. Bong Joon-Ho loves like a white woman with like really long features.
Yeah.
He's like, I love a long-fingered lady.
Yeah.
The movie is 2 hours and 17 minutes of very overt commentary on our capitalistic, exploitative, and fanatical present that will undoubtedly lead to some tortured and bleak future, even if not this dramatic version, certainly something equally dim. This is how we're feeling, which leads me to my first topic, which is Trump's dim future. Ugh. Though the film is quite lighthearted and charmingly bizarre, there's no room for misunderstanding the heavy-handed commentary by Bong, something that his films are well known for. He's not subtle, and he enjoys that.
Yeah.
And when Mickey, in a desperate attempt to leave this planet to escape the terror of debt collectors, signs the paperwork to become an expendable, a treacherous sandstorm brews outside the glass building, and people are frantic to abandon a planet that's intent on killing them. Right, we can infer from that event and from the kind of fanatical energy of everyone in that space, desperate to leave, that natural disasters are on the rise, as well as crime and desperation. Right, like we're seeing the acts that Mickey and Timo did to get to where they are. Like there's clearly a desperation. There's like a surge in crime and police are not to be trusted as well. Like there's a whole bunch of things. So there are many parallels to the fears expressed in this film to our own when exploring the damage done during Trump's first term when this film was written, and it was produced actually in 2022. So they were like, that last thing that we just went through is really bad, right?
Yeah.
To now an apocalyptic second term that's somehow even more reckless and unpoliced, undoubtedly spelling a dark, grim future for our planet and humanity. It's so fun. You didn't even know it was going to be that way.
Yeah.
With our own natural disasters rising in frequency and severity, our climate crisis is no secret. Temperatures are rising, breaking records for the hottest days while melting our ice caps. And then someday, like it was June 1st, it was cold.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the summer. What are we doing?
Yeah.
We are at a point where the crisis is no longer a matter of stopping the effects, but instead aiming to dampen the intensity of climate change. Like we are at the point of no return, and we need all hands on deck, every country, every person, to be invested in saving the planet. Yeah. Unfortunately, with our planet at great risk, by electing or rigging Trump into another term, and in turn providing horrible projects like Project 2025 to have more power, we've moved even further into our own doom, right? We're kind of solidifying it's going to be worse.
Yeah, like thinking of our nature apocalypse stuff, like we had the climate clock. I just looked it up. We're 4 years, 48 days, and 16 hours until irreparable damage has taken place. And what ends in about 4 years? His presidency.
It's going to be expedited. Like it's going to increase because not only are we not moving forward to put things in place to protect us or to undo damage, we're pushing things back. We're taking away any of the progress we've made. So it's making even worse damage. So that is going to accelerate that clock. It's going to accelerate the damage. And so like a world where there's that horrific sandstorm outside and everyone's trying to jump into whatever space vehicle they can and doing something as desperate as signing up as an expendable, it doesn't sound too far-fetched, to be quite honest. Project 2025 and Trump's administration spells horror for much of our country's checks and balances, as well as our overall democracy, but it also threatens the entirety of the world. Like I just explained. We've already seen the impact of Trump's ill-advised and foolish tariffs on foreign governments, as well as our own. But Project 2025 also leans heavily in preserving the status quo and empowering oil and gas billionaires and, using up our natural resources and steering away from any green or clean energy solutions. Its goal is to keep the power in their hands, and the folks who already have money and power to begin with. And during a time in which we desperately need to be making evasive and reparative action to alleviate the damage done to our planet, there's little hope we'll be able to stop the crisis or even soften the blow at this point. It's looking bleak, right? And Mickey 17 with that hopeful ending, that's many a year in the future.
Yeah.
Like, we have to go through some scary stuff before we get to that. And that's a little planet that got that, you know?
Yeah, like Ice Planet. Oh my god, I don't even want to go there. I
No.
want to die here. Like, it looks awful and cold, and yeah.
Yes. The only solace is that Marshall left Earth. So maybe there's a chance, you know?
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that while Marshall's policies and plans most likely contributed to the crisis on their planet Earth, he is also the first in line to leave the planet. He's like, I'm taking this ship and we're going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And while it would bring me so much pleasure to say goodbye to Musk and his lackeys as they board a doomed flight to Mars for colonization, I'm just saying another Titan submersible event, right? Part 2. Mm-hmm. Get one once a year. That'd be nice. Such an event wouldn't occur until after our planet reached the point of no return. And as Kat mentioned, check out our Don't Look Up episode for more on that idea overall, like the rich escaping the planet after it's been severely broken, leaving us all to fend for ourselves when they did it. Like, that's kind of how it goes. We've already barely survived one Trump presidency, of which we are still very much feeling the effects of, and will still for many decades to come. So after his first term, we saw the elimination of environmental regulations, horrifying immigration policies, closer ties with Israel, and a reshaping of the federal judiciary. In his second term, he threatens a brand new span of horrors now that much of our checks and balances have been dismantled or blatantly ignored. While the film is very much a science fiction comedy, it leads towards speculative fiction when viewed in a world plagued by rampant AI and administrative rhetoric inspiring a blatant disregard for humans and severe cuts to our environmental protection, healthcare, and human rights programs.
Yeah.
It's only getting worse, right? So I think that's a big part of what this film is about. I think another big part about this film is the ethics of scientific studies. With the lovable and kind Mickey acting as this like live action crash test dummy, we're forced to feel intensely uncomfortable with his treatment. It's on purpose. In the beginning, when the cavalier and shitty friend Timo asks, "What does it feel like to die?" Don't be mad. We set the tone for a dystopian future in which one person's humanity is worth less than others. And it's not really a dystopian future. It's not a dystopian present day future. Now, it's our history. Right?
It's our like entire world.
It's our history. It's our present. It's future for sure. It is like the film itself is a wild and comical science fiction world of fantastical science like cloning, but the emotions and motivations of those characters are very real. Humanity's history of experimenting on lower class and vulnerable persons to advance scientific discoveries is far from news. Okay, you've heard it, you know about it. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this show, right? Throughout periods of time in which horrific human rights violations were happening in broad daylight, right? Slavery, Jim Crow, the Holocaust. There were even more terrors occurring in the dark in the name of science, right? Like they were getting away with all kinds of stuff because they were like a magician being like, look it over here, while they were like, you know, do another murder, and they're like, it's science, so it's okay. America's history is saturated with abuses to the Black bodies that helped build it, from the Tuskegee syphilis study to the current day forced sterilization of Black women in prison. Like, it's still going on, and it's still in the name of science or some crazy eugenics nonsense, right? These are horrors that are so deep that many Black Americans still today don't trust in the medical system or in science, and who could blame them for their caution? It was a big issue when we were talking about COVID because it was like a really valid hesitancy to trust in any medical professionals or in a vaccine or any of that, because there's an intense history of Black and brown bodies being experimented on. We're told one thing, and next thing you know, you're sterilized or you're infected with some horrible disease. So that hesitancy was super valid, but it also like crippled a lot of like the movement and ability to get the help that they needed, because the trust just wasn't there. So the use of Mickey's expendable body, a body that even before he filled out that paperwork was already very much expendable, is not a deep leap from reality. Right? We can look to the history of vaccines, a favorite discussion amongst students of ethics, in weighing one life versus the so-called greater good as an example of how easy it is for humanity to look the other way. This is like health ethics 101. It's like one of the only things I remember from college. because Edward Jenner discovered the smallpox vaccine by injecting the son of his gardener with cowpox and then smallpox to test his hypothesis that one would cancel the other out. Essentially, that's the vaccine.
Yeah.
It's named after vacca, the Latin word for cow.
Yeah.
And that's because cow maidens who were infected with cowpox were not getting smallpox. So it was a super valid, understandable theory. The idea that he's just like, I'm taking this man's son, infecting him with one thing, he gets sick, he doesn't die, and then infecting him with another thing.
Yep.
Is so crazy to me. And while this rather shady study did result in the discovery of vaccines and later the eradication of smallpox, it has led to many conversations on the ethics of this medical study. Because how much agency did that young boy have in this experiment? Like when he was a lower class, he was a worker boy. He was the son of a man who worked for this man.
Yeah.
Who was in charge of this man's paycheck.
Yeah.
His child's.
Yeah.
Right? So how much agency did he have? And had Jenner been wrong in thinking cowpox could immunize someone from smallpox, then he'd just kill him. He would have killed him. And then what, right? The only reason why it's not an issue is because he was correct.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but if he had just kind of, like, if it was a wild speculation and he just injected some boy and killed him, what the hell?
That's a serial killer, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like...
And, like, I do doubt that the death of this one lower class boy would have halted the studies. He would have did it again. He would have found somebody else, right? This is what we've seen throughout history. These lives mean little when scientific discoveries could be had, right? Yeah. What's one life for all of the lives that matter more than that one life, right? Mm-hmm. What's one Mickey when we have so many? He's just going to come back, right? We saw that with the non-expendable person. She clearly meant more because we couldn't just bring her back.
Yeah.
So imagine a future where we continue these experiments on the vulnerable populations of our planet, but we can also bring those very people back to experiment on them all over again. It's like an infinite cheat code for power and science, all at the expense of these expendables. The scientists on the ship inject Mickey with all manner of diseases and chemicals in pursuit of knowledge. The shortest lifetime of Mickey's is for like a few minutes as they wake him up from the printer with a syringe of a mysterious liquid.
Yeah.
Like, welcome to the world, you're dying. And we see montages of him cordoned off in sterile rooms, dying slow deaths, vomiting, skin full of blisters, and utterly alone until the brilliant and kind Nasha join him. But even then, like, see him out in the middle of space, just dying, right? Mm-hmm. And we later discover that one of the chemicals Mickey had been injected with wasn't for the vaccine for the planet, but instead a chemical weapon that they later planned to use on the creepers. So he was a guinea pig for a weapon of mass destruction, essentially, for chemical warfare. And it's like not all sketchy and violating experiments on the human body lead to the exonerating answer of a vaccine. Some experiments are far more horrific, right? Like, how did we get mustard gas? How did we get any of the chemical warfare that we currently have that people are actively using on an entire group of people? Mm-hmm. How do we know that it could do that to people without trying it on people to begin with, right? Yep. You have to just question that. Like, those scientific things and advances came from somewhere. They came from studies. They came from experiments. And somebody was the Mickey for that.
Yeah.
Like, we've had many a Mickey. And I'll tell you one thing. Mickey is one of the few that are white, you know?
Yeah.
Most of them would have looked a lot different, right? Mm-hmm. Which leads me to my last point as I digress and get off of this pedestal for why I think Mickey 17 is super underrated. Like, I get it. It's not perfect for sure. But I think there is a lot that's being said. And whenever a film asks you to question things or to look things up or just think about the world that's around you in the future that we have and the systems that are in place, I think it's done a wonderful job. Like, if a film does that, then it's worth talking about. And so I do hope that you watch it, which I think one of the biggest takeaways, and as kind of cheesy as the ending was, I think there's a strength in the approach that Bong Joon-Ho had in creating Mickey the way that he did for this film. Like, again, I mentioned before that he's this like goofy guy, and he's like, well, you know, stuff happens to me. And that's super endearing and sweet, right? Like, but that's so intentional. Like, it's definitely a funny gag that you're like, oh, this poor guy. Like, come on. And you like Mickey 18, want to be like, just stick up for yourself.
Yeah.
But him being that way is so important for this story because there's power of empathy at the end of the world. It's quite deliberate and important that the Mickey we come to love in the film is a truly kind and soft-hearted man. And like I said, even Mickey 18 had an intense care within him as he expresses the same frustrations viewers may feel towards him, where he's like, stick up for yourself, right? But even Mickey 18 still has a kindness in him. He's just like, you know, there's a limit to how much a man can take. You know, 18 lives worth of limits.
Mickey versus,
yeah, right, exactly. But he's still like, the reason, his motivations for doing all those things were care. Like he cared for Nasha, he cared for the people, and he wanted to end the suffering. And the only way to do that was to be drastic and crazy. Because what 17 was doing and all the ones before him ain't it.
Yeah.
You know? But as viewers, like, we want Mickey 17 to win, right? We want him to be free of the trials and to live out his life with Nasha. We cringe in our outrage as he hangs outside that ship dying of exposure to radiation. We soften and hurt as we watch him shiver and vomit in the cold. We may even cry as Nasha fights her way to his side, holding him so he doesn't have to suffer alone anymore. Right? Like, we are going through those emotions with him. And the only reason we can do that is because he's so beautiful, right?
Yeah.
It's intentional to have the simple, kind Mickey as our hero, as well as having Nasha be such a loving, strong, and genuine human as well. Like, also very important that both of these people are the ones we're looking to as our heroes, right? She's a ride or die who doesn't hesitate to help others in need, putting her own body at risk to help the man that she loves or a small creature that she doesn't fully understand. Like, she's doing it, right? And Bong is asking us about our own capacity for empathy, right? Can we care for another human being? Are other people expendable to us? Are creatures or other people who may not look like us worthy of care, respect, and kindness? And in our Wicked episode last time, we talked about how easy it is for people to fall for the trap of othering a group of people, of scapegoating them, and later allowing inhumane treatment because we have been led to think so little of them, right? It is an easy trap to fall into. But our capacity for empathy is a great power that we all need to strengthen right now. In a world where people are being kidnapped from our country under the guise of making America great again, or white again, quite honestly, or where the lives of Palestinians dwindle every single day during the onslaught of violence and genocide by Israel, our empathy can feel like a heavy cross to bear. It honestly feels like weakness less than like it is a strength. But that empathy is the only thing that can save those very same lives, that can bring those people home and can change the world for the better. And Bong encourages us to be the Mickey and Nashas that we want to see in the world, right? To pedestal love and care above all else, because only then can we get through these dark and challenging times and hopefully have some semblance of a happy ending like we see in the film.
Yeah, a future, you know, worth fighting for, a future worth sticking around for.
Yeah, a future where people are still there.
Yeah, or at least the planet, man. Like, you know, like if we can't be, at least let something live.
Yeah.
Yeah. It hurts, but also it was really good. It was like necessary ouch, as most things are. And yeah, it was hard watching him die so many times, and I think that was the biggest thing for me, where I was like,
But even think, like, if he had been Mickey 18 the whole time and we watched that version of him die, I think there's a little less empathy that happens because he's not so like hopeless or like delicate. Like, you don't care for him in the same way. Like, you want to protect Mickey 17 because he's got a purity to him.
Yeah, he has an innocence about him.
that Mickey 18 don't have. He's like, I'll murder the world. Like, if, you know, he was doing it, we would feel like, okay, you got yourself into this mess. Whereas with Mickey 17 and all the ones before him, you're like, God, the world did this to you.
Yeah. No, it's super valid. I mean, I empathize, I think, with both, but I agree that Mickey 17, like, definitely had, like, you wanted to protect him, and that mattered for sure.